Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. I'm going to warn you at the very beginning, this will not be a short video, but it will be, in my opinion, the most important video that you've heard from us in 2024. So if you're pressed for time right now, please save this video in your phone somewhere and come back to it and watch it later on tonight. If you have time for even a few moments, hit the link below and send your pre-written email to your state rep telling them to vote yes or vote for Justin Sparks to be Speaker of the House in 2025. That's all the time you have right now. We understand. Please come back and watch the rest of the video later. For everybody else, we all know what happened on Tuesday, November 5. Here in Missouri and nationwide, gun voters and everybody else who cares about freedom spoke very loudly. We elected Trump in a massive landslide. We took back the Senate. We held the GOP majority in the House. Very clear, complete repudiation of the radical left's agenda and a very clear mandate to do big, bold, conservative things going forward in 2025. Here in Missouri, much the same. Crystal Quaid got trounced. No surprise there. We held our big supermajorities in the House and Senate. Again, mandates were being conveyed from we the people to the lawmakers in Jeff City to do great big things in 2025. That certainly includes our gun rights. So given the size of our majorities in Jeff City, it should be easy to do big conservative things. It should be easy to pass IP reform. It should be easy to enhance stand your ground law. It should be easy to ban red flag gun seizures. But it's not. And we all know that. And we all know the reason why. It's not the rank and file. It's leadership. We had this problem for the last couple of years. We had Dean Plocher as Speaker of the House. We had Caleb Rowden as the Senate President. And basically everything that we all cared about as gun owners and many other issues died because those two people did the will of the lobby corps here in Jeff City, not the will of we the people. That has to change. And that's why we're super proud to announce that Justin Sparks, Representative Justin Sparks, is publicly challenging Jon Patterson to be Speaker of the House when session convenes in early 2025. We need everybody who cares about gun rights to hit the link beneath this video and send your pre-written email to your state rep telling him or her that if you don't vote for Justin Sparks, then in your mind, you're going to hold that person responsible for everything that Jon Patterson does for the next 2 years as Speaker of the House if he, in fact, wins that election. Everyone can remember about 13, 14 months ago when Congressman Matt Gaetz dethroned Kevin McCarthy in Washington, D.C. Kevin McCarthy was the definition of the D.C. swamp. He stopped everything good. He championed almost everything bad, and he was a wholly owned creature of the D.C. lobby corps, a.k.a. the D.C. swamp. Everyone in America that I know who cares about freedom cheered when Matt Gaetz dethroned Kevin McCarthy on August 3, 2023. But we have the exact same situation shaping up here. This could be our turn. This could be our time, our chance as Missourians to dethrone our own version of Kevin McCarthy and make really big changes in the fight for freedom here in Missouri. It all starts with the election coming up very quick. Now, again, for the last 4 years, we've had this problem. We've had Dean Plocher in the House as majority leader, and then we've had Dean Plocher as Speaker of the House. So for 4 years, we've been putting a lot of blame on Dean Plocher. But for the last 2 years, Jon Patterson has been the House Majority Floor Leader, the number 2 guy in charge. And the way things usually work in Jeff City, you go from being Majority Floor Leader to the Speaker of the House. And what Jon Patterson has done as Majority Floor Leader gives us zero confidence that he'll be anything better as Speaker of the House than he has been for the last couple of years as Majority Floor Leader. So we, again, need you to help us put pressure on our state reps to vote for Justin Sparks as Speaker of the House. Now, your state rep might be an incoming freshman. And if that's the case, and he or she does not yet have a publicly identifiable email address, and your automated emails will not go to your new incoming freshman. In that case, you're going to have to call them on the phone or find them on social media and convey your message to them that way because they're not able to be automatically emailed right now through our system. Now, a lot of people on social media are going after Jon Patterson, but what I see in the comment section so often is people asking for details. Well, we love details here at the Missouri Firearms Coalition. We have very, very long memories when it comes to betrayals, especially from Republicans in Congress, especially right here in Jeff City. So I'm going to give you 7 specific things that Jon Patterson has done that I think you have to know about as you consider whether or not you want to get involved in this fight. First, because this is the Missouri Firearms Coalition, talk about guns. So last session, Chiefs win the Super Bowl. We have the big Super Bowl parade in Kansas City. And of course, there was a shooting. Thugs shot at thugs. Bad guys did bad things. And that's what happens often in these mass shooting situations. It wasn't a good guy who did something bad. It was a bad guy who did something bad to other bad guys, as is often the case. But of course, the very next day in the news, Jon Patterson does 2 things. First, he announces that all the gun bills on the calendar for debate in the Missouri House are being pulled. All of them. One of those was Adam Schnelting's bill to get rid of deadly gun-free zones here in Missouri. It had been through committee. It had been through the next committee. It was ready to go, floor eligible, debate ready, and Jon Patterson immediately pulled it from consideration in response to the shooting. But then he goes on to tell the media that when we come back to Jeff City on Monday, we're going to examine the causes of this shooting, and that includes guns. And so he began to circulate the idea amongst his colleagues here in Jeff City that he was going to work on some form of red flag gun seizures. Now, we didn't like hearing that. So we went to war with Jon Patterson, did videos, email, social media, everything else to tell the entire world what he was about to do. A lot of you folks took action. A lot of you folks called Jon Patterson. He called me into his office. He walked back his comments to me. He then walked them back to the media, which I told him he had to do. And thankfully, the red flag bill did not move forward. However, he never did bring back Adam Schnelting or any other pro-gun bills in 2024. So this is a guy who was very close to moving on red flag gun seizures as our pro-gun Republican wannabe Speaker of the House. It's a disaster. He refused to give us committee hearings on bills for the last year or two to ban red flag gun seizures. He wouldn't give hearings on bills to enhance stand your ground law. He did nothing to advance gun rights, but he was right there to give the radical left what they wanted after that shooting. That's on guns. There cannot be any trust in Jon Patterson when it comes to the Second Amendment. Now, I'm going to go way beyond guns in this video because my expectation is that not just gun owners are going to see this video. If you don't care about the rest of these issues, that's your prerogative, but I think they're telling because it gives you an overall picture of what a backstabbing traitor Jon Patterson has been to conservatives for a very long time. Number 2, in 2023, Missouri passed the SAFE Act, which banned gender reassignment surgeries on minors. The legislature wisely does not believe that an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old is developed enough mentally to make the decision, the life-altering, unrecoverable decision to chop off their genitalia. And so we banned it here in Missouri. It was Senate Bill 49. The vote was May 10, 2023. And when it passed the House, 3 Republicans out of over 100, 111, 112 Republicans, 3 voted against it. And one of those was Jon Patterson. Think about that. He wants it to be okay for a 6-year-old kid, for an 8-year-old kid to be totally messed with by some liberal teacher somewhere. And they tell Johnny, you're actually a Susie, and convince him to chop off his genitals. And he's okay with that. He was a no vote on the bill. Again, do not take me at my word. Look it up. Senate Bill 49. The date was May 10, 2023. You can look it up for yourself. That's the transgender crazy stuff. What about Amendment 3? Amendment 3, if you're pro-life, this really applies to you. So Amendment 3 is passed. Everybody knows that. It brings New York style or California style pro-abortion bills into our state constitution, which is already passed now. It is the worst of the worst. Again, it's like New York style crazy pro-abortion things in our state constitution. And this is now in the Constitution. So the question then becomes, what does the legislature do in response to this? Because this was the will of the people, to hear Jon Patterson say it. But the reality is it was the will of 6 or 7 or 8 counties. It was the will of St. Louis, and it was the will of Kansas City. But we are not a democracy here. We are a republic, and we have a elected legislature for a reason. If you examine the map, you'll see that, again, 6, 7, 8 counties backed Amendment 3. That's it. So what happens to the representation for people who live in Republican counties, like me, like you? That's why we have a legislature. So Jon Patterson, as the wannabe Speaker of the House, has the complete and total authority to run a joint resolution to begin to roll back Amendment 3. It's well within his power. There's plenty of votes to get it done. And he's on record, on video, as you're going to see, saying he will not do that. Amendment 3 is the law of the land, and he's going to move on and abandon all of those unborn babies.
And what I've told people is that we should respect the will of the people, and we will. It'll be the law of the land, and we have to go forward as the people decide. So I think that's the question that you should be asking the people on the stage. The people are going to vote, and we have to respect the wishes of the people.
I don't know about you, but that's not the kind of leadership that we're looking for from a supposedly pro-life doctor in Kansas City, in Jackson County. Nasty stuff. Number 4. When Missouri passed Senate Bill 39, I don't have the date here, but you can find it for yourself, SB Senate Bill 39, which banned boys in girls sports or banned girls in boys sports, all this different stuff. The issue here is that, yes, we got the thing done. We accomplished the goal, but they put a sunset clause into the law. And so it should have been super easy, right? To say, you know what? We don't want dudes hanging out with girls in locker rooms. We don't want dudes hanging out with girls in team sports. It's not a big ask. It's not a big deal. We got it passed, but the only way it passed was because because the rhinos and the Democrats wanted to kill it, and they only would approve it if they had a sunset clause. So the law we have here in Missouri, SB 39, has a built-in sunset clause. We didn't have to do it, but Jon Patterson is the guy who brokered that deal. He didn't do it to help ensure the bill's success. He did it to make sure the bill would only be law for a couple of years. Everybody in Jeff City knew what was going on. Jon Patterson was doing his best to kill the entire bill. When he couldn't do that, he successfully inserted a sunset clause to make sure that just a couple of years from now, some great big dude can be going into girls' high school locker rooms claiming to be a girl. Again, this is not coming from a radical leftist. Well, actually, it is. But it's coming from a guy who professes to be a conservative Republican. Next, IP reform. Everyone knows that IP reform is probably the biggest issue in Missouri. Certainly, it was in the 2024 General Assembly. IP reform is the way we keep Amendment 3 from becoming law. Too late now. IP reform is how we protect our gun rights, because if Bloomberg comes into Missouri and spends 25 million bucks, that's what they spent on the Amendment 3, then they could potentially undo all that we've done for gun owners here in Missouri and put gun control directly into our state constitution. So IP reform fixes that by making it harder for Bloomberg to accomplish that. 2 bills, 2 joint resolutions passed last session in the House designed to fix the problem presented on our initial petition process. The first one, House Joint Resolution 86, HJR 86. It passed on April 3rd of this year, 2024. And do you want to guess how Jon Patterson voted on IP reform, the hottest issue in the Republican caucus or conference this session? He was a no vote, one of only a handful of Republicans who was a no vote. Now, maybe you say that can't be. Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe he didn't know what he was doing. Maybe he was confused. Maybe he was on the phone. Well, that doesn't work because just a couple weeks later, he did it again, this time on the Senate joint resolution, SJR 74, and that vote took place on April 25, 2024. Hottest issue in Missouri, number one agenda item for gun owners, for pro-lifers, for conservatives, for anybody who cares about freedom, and Jon Patterson knifed you in the back, not once, but twice. Interesting stuff. When most of the Missouri legislature, the Republicans that is, endorsed President Trump publicly in his bid for election, re-election, whatever you want to call it, Jon Patterson very publicly refused to endorse President Trump. Some people would find that very interesting, very concerning stuff. Finally, a couple of years ago, this was in 2000, I believe it was 22. Fact check me on that. Missouri passed a bunch of bills dealing with COVID-19 and giving religious exemptions surrounding the vaccination, we will call it. I got to be careful what words I say here for YouTube and for Facebook. So they passed a bill, House Bill 2358, to give religious exemptions from taking the COVID vaccination, right? So pretty simple stuff. And on that bill, on that fight, Representative Eggleston ran an amendment, a very, very needed amendment that said hospitals in Missouri do not have the legal authority to deny organ transplants to patients who have not taken the vaccination, right? Seems like a pretty simple thing. So Jon Patterson, as a surgeon from Kansas City, gets out there on the floor and he speaks very directly against it. He says, and I've lost the quote here right now, but to the effect of, I would hate to be a person who had, COVID-19, who died several weeks later because I was not given an organ transplant because I lacked the vaccination. That's a paraphrase. I'm not reading the direct quote, but you can find that for yourself. I don't know about you, but I had family who died from COVID. And the idea that this guy who wants to be the leader of the House Republican caucus and the leader of the Missouri House more or less thinks that our family members should not have been given medical care during that time based on their vaccination status is enraging. It's enraging, right? So these are 7 issues, 7 reasons, 7 betrayals that we have, all of us here in Missouri, received from Jon Patterson. And so you're going to have to decide if you can stomach this. But I can tell you, this is not what Missourians voted for. Missourians voted for great, big, bold, conservative issues. And your state rep candidate more than likely campaigned on these great, big, conservative, bold issues. But the first vote they're going to cast in early January will be for Speaker of the House. If Jon Patterson gets the votes, this is the agenda he's going to implement. He's going to very likely kill all the gun bills, very likely kill all the pro-life bills, very likely kill IP reform, very likely kill all tax reform bills, very likely kill border security bills. He'll very likely kill every single bill that you and I care about. That's Jon Patterson. Justin Sparks is the exact opposite. He is a conservative fighter who wants to go in there, kick over the tables, so to speak, and get things done. Just like Trump right now is about to walk into the White House, kick out Joe Biden, and get things done. So we have a choice. We can sit here for the next 2 years now as Missourians and watch as we accomplish virtually nothing to make our state more free, to make our state a better place to live in, to make our state a leader in the conservative space in the Midwest, or we can sit here and be angry for the next 2 years as all the rest of the states around us, like Iowa, like Arkansas and others, become more and more free. If you care about these issues, please take a moment, hit the link, and send your pre-written email to your state rep and tell him or her that you had better doggone vote for Justin Sparks to be Speaker of the House. And if you vote for Jon Patterson, then you have automatically earned yourself the guilt for everything Jon Patterson does. For every bad bill Jon Patterson passes, your state rep, if you voted for him, will be held accountable. For every good bill Jon Patterson kills in committee, he's also going to be held accountable, your state rep, that is, for approving this man to be Speaker of the House. They have to hear from you right away. So first of all, hit the email. Secondly, if you have their phone number, call them and talk to them on the phone directly and convey this to them over the phone. If you have them on social media, send them a note on X, send them a note on Facebook. Make sure they hear from you from all sides, because right now the swamp in Jeff City is very nervous. A lot of pressure is beginning to foment around this. We have some regional and even national media doing stories about this. They do not like the pressure. But guys, the pressure hasn't even begun yet, because until this video goes live, much what's happening right now is behind closed doors. We have blown this wide open with this video, and now we're urging all of you to help us make this pressure increase dramatically by taking action today. Thanks for your patience. I know it's a long video. I think it's a really important video. What we do over the next couple of weeks will decide if we have more or less freedoms 2 years from now. Guys, take action and share the video online.